Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Technology Snapshot, Artificial Intelligence in Southeast Asia. My name's Daniel James. I'm the founder of Arctive Technologies and co-founder of Olympia International Consulting. Okay, let's get started. Artificial intelligence has been all over the news. We've heard so many different concepts of what this can look like. I think we probably already have in our own imaginations what types of user experiences and capabilities AI can do. But we don't see a lot of actual use cases today that are measurable that I think we can get our hands on. There's a few sort of flagship use cases, but it's not really something that we really see in industrial use to this day. And so there's not a lot of clarity for, I think, the average person that is not directly involved in this in terms of what they can expect out of AI over the next couple of years or even in the long term. So that's really what I want to discuss today is what are the applications that we have available today? And then what can we really expect in that short, medium, and long term in terms of the technology development cycle? I want to first start by discussing the enterprise AI technologies that drive business value today. So these are technologies that enhance user experience or they more efficiently operate a business system. So in the enterprise AI applications, most of what these are doing today are enhancing or replicating the human experience. So if you consider all the five senses and all the data inputs that our bodies and our human experience are taking, so these are technologies that are either enhancing that existing experience that we have, or they're completely replacing it altogether in a fully simulated environment. Let's talk about some examples. So first is the eyes with image recognition. So for the latest applications, this would include monitoring social distancing, or in industrial applications, identifying product defects. It could be used also for picture and video identification for security or other applications. This is one that many of us know and experience today. And we can expect more and more of this in the near-term future, especially with managing COVID-19. Okay, the next category would be speech recognition. So anything that is allowing us to more effectively communicate with each other. As an example, I'm an English-speaking expat living in Taiwan. My Chinese is moderate to poor, but with my phone and other applications, I can survive very well. That simply would not have been enabled 10 years ago. So language translation is a very helpful tool. Hands-free mobile devices, and also gaming for hands-free gaming applications. The next category is chatbots and chat operations. So this would be automating the customer experience or help desk requests. And even within social media, there's a lot of AI and automation in the monitoring and management of that. The next category would be natural language processing, NLP. Within the artificial intelligence community, this is a widely used term, NLP. So this technology is not just the ability to translate existing words or text, but to also auto-generate and predict text as you're writing it or as you're communicating. So it's really emulating the human-to-human language process. And artificial intelligence is getting better and better with that. So this is a really useful tool for helping minimize the effort in time to communicate back and forth. And then also the interpretation or explanation of graphs and reports. So auto text that can analyze some data and then send you a textual report back. And then finally, sentiment analysis, where companies can analyze their customer responses based on the expressions on their face. You can engage their employee morale and even do face and voice recognition. So with these five technologies, we have these today. So we're starting to create a system which can emulate and model and predict human behavior and interact with humans directly. Each one of these that have been implemented has its own unique business value or its own ROI. A lot of times it's becoming more efficient, so you're able to do more with less. That's a great tool. And in other cases, it might be technologies that can help you increase more revenue by being, again, more efficient on the sales side. Maybe you can find more customers using AI technology, that more customers that fit your company's profile. Okay, now how is a lot of this being implemented? Well, the chart on the right really just briefly discusses the key components of the AI systems and infrastructure. The first is the modeling. So that will include your machine learning and your deep learning and neural networks. So this is really the self-learning type of system that is very iterative in its approach, but it can identify patterns and continuously improve over time. And the second part is software/hardware. These AI processes are very taxing on the processor, and the conventional CPU is not going to be able to support that. So the modern GPUs are really what's required to manage AI in its full capacity. And then in addition, parallel processing tools and cloud data storage and compute. The amount of data that is going to be accumulated by all this AI, it's growing exponentially. So you can't just plan for the infrastructure of today, your immediate needs, but you have to plan for an exponential growth over the next 3 to 5 years as these systems become more ingrained in our business practices. And then finally, the programming languages themselves. So there's new languages that are specific to artificial intelligence that a whole new tier of programmers are going to have to learn. So that includes Python and TensorFlow, but then there's now also Java and C, your traditional programming languages that can be embedded in the AI. So you can see the physical hardware, the software systems, and learning algorithms, and the programming language itself are all interconnected in these AI systems. Okay, let's now look at the technology hype cycle. This information was pulled from a Gartner report, but I recategorized it so you can see specifically what can we expect over the next 2 to 5 to 10 and beyond 10 years. And within the hype cycle, there's really 4 key stages. The initial stage is the innovation trigger. That's where the initial idea and the early testing and development is performed. Then after that comes the peak of inflated expectations. So that's when everybody's talking it up and this is going to be the next big thing and everyone's going to get rich that's involved in this technology. And then after that comes the trough of disillusionment, where expectations get tempered back to reality. And now we have a better understanding, or more realistic understanding, of what the actual use cases for this technology can be. And then finally, the plateau of productivity. That's where the technology's in use, it's a mature product, and we know exactly to the nth decimal point what the ROI of that type of system or application can yield. So every new artificial intelligence technology is going to fit within one of those 4 categories. And as you can see in this chart, there's really 2 that are the mature products today. That's the speech recognition and the GPU accelerators. So that's a software platform, and then the GPU is a hardware platform. So we know what that is. We've actually had those in place for probably 5 to 10 years in many cases, and they're commonly used today. So we have a well understood business model around those 2 technologies. Now, if you look under the next 2 years, what can we really expect, and what's the nearest to being in its full capacity for industrial application? Well, that's robotic automation software. That's already in place today. We've already have a lot of capabilities, and we can test it, we can measure it, but it hasn't really been adopted to its full capacity at this point. I think because of COVID-19 and the more Industry 4.0 technologies we're going to expect over the next few years, this is going to be the immediate quick hit, mature enough technology that we can go ahead and implement at a much broader scale. Then in the next 2 to 5 years, the technologies that are actually in that trough of disillusionment that are closest to becoming full mature deployed technologies include the computer vision, the virtual assistants, VPA-enabled wireless speakers, and FPGA accelerators. So there's a mix of software-based systems, and then hardware-based systems. These technologies are already mature in the sense of their development, but they're not mature in the sense of their market adoption. So if you look at the peak of inflated expectations, these are the technologies that are going to come out in the next 2 to 5 years. So they're not immediate, but they're right around the corner. And there's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of hype around each one of these. That would first include edge artificial intelligence. That's really bringing the AI closer to the source of the data. Rather than just embedding the AI in the cloud to do the deep learning, you need some type of mix of AI that is with very low latency that can do real-time learning and processing and decision-making right there out in the field. And then you have your deep learning, which is more in the cloud, the machine-to-machine language, and where AI can help be the communication translator from one system to the other, intelligent applications, and chatbots. Then finally, the innovation trigger, which is technologies that are very early on in the hype cycle, but still expected to be released within the next 5 years. That's your augmented intelligence, your data labeling services, AI-related CNSI services, and development toolkits. And then over the next 5 to 10 years, what are the technologies that are in existence today that just aren't really fully implemented? That's your natural language processing, the NLP, and cognitive computing. And I'd also like to skip ahead to the next 10 years where it's autonomous vehicles. And that's really in the trough of disillusionment because we have the technology today. There's been so many development and testing around this, but we don't have the infrastructure to really efficiently support it. So even though at the individual car level or the vehicle level, the technology is good enough that I think it's ready, it's really dependent on the whole system around it, the 5G networks and the whole infrastructure to be built before that can become a mature system. And we won't get into all the others in the interest of time, but at least this kind of shows from a hype cycle, development cycle, and adoption cycle where these technologies fit today and what we can reasonably expect over the next few years. Okay, thank you for attending. If you have any questions, you can book a 30-minute Ask an Expert call with myself. Go to our website at www.olympiaic.com and click on our one-on-one consulting. And if you haven't already, sign up for our 2020 Edge Computing Workshop, Southeast Asia Edition. This is a technology crash course designed for industry professionals. We offer this in basic, pro, and expert level curriculums. In these sessions, we'll discuss the impact of the edge on Southeast Asia. So we'll look at the edge and related technologies and the market readiness for each country. And then we'll also have a bonus session on the COVID-19's impact on key industries in Southeast Asia. In our pro session, we'll include that plus the integration of the edge with new technologies such as 5G, Industry 4.0, and an artificial intelligence. We'll do a much more deep dive into the AI technology. We'll include also a bonus of edge and cybersecurity. And in our expert sessions, we'll look at the edge systems and deployment. We'll look at the infrastructure, devices, and even cover some practical use cases. And as a bonus, we'll discuss the considerations for investment. So to learn more, go to our website, visit www.olympiaic.com/edge workshop and sign up today. Thanks.